Hey hockey player, in this video, I want to talk to you about the 5 keys that you need to have in check to impress at tryouts and camps like you never have before. Look, this is arguably the most important time of the year. You want to be your absolute best out in the ice. And let me tell you something. How you perform out in the ice has everything to do with how you prepare off the ice. With that in mind, let's get into the 5 keys here. We're going to kick this thing off with nutrient timing. Now, I've recorded a video in the past that I want you to watch, and it's called What to Drink During Hockey. That is absolutely critical because during tryouts, during camps, one thing that you're going to be exposed to a lot is multiple sessions per day of glycogen depleting bouts of exertion. So what that essentially means is glycogen, which is a stored form of carbohydrate. This is the primary fuel source that you're using out in the ice and you're using during your dryland training. Hockey is a glycolytic sport. It's simply a balance of the supply and demand fuel chain of carbohydrates that's going to keep us going longer and harder, and therefore allowing you to both perform and recover at a faster rate than your opponents or the other people trying to get on the team that aren't doing the same type of strategy that you're doing. With the nutrient timing, the biggest thing to keep in check is having fast adjusting carbohydrates. Now, when I talk about fast adjusting carbohydrates, a lot of people, and especially parents, sometimes they shy away from it because these are the things that quote unquote aren't healthy on paper. They're gonna have your sugars, perhaps white rice or white pasta, but on the days where you have 2 or 3 workouts or on-ice sessions per day, this is when this fast metabolization and these simple broken down foods, these are absolutely key because when you look at digestive biochemistry literature, what you find is that you can have slow digesting carbohydrates as your post-workout meal and it won't be any problem at all so long as your next workout is 24 hours later or more. So you can have the more slow digesting, quote unquote, healthy carbohydrates such as quinoa, such as an oatmeal, such as sweet potato. These things with more fiber in them, more shelling and type of nutrients that are slower to break down. These types of things can be had post-workout if you don't have another session within 24 hours. But if you have multiple bouts of glycogen depleting efforts in one day, for example, 2 on-ice sessions or an AM workout and then an on-ice session in the PM, then you can't go slow. You need to go fast. Rate of metabolization and rate of glycogen replenishment back into the muscle cell becomes the #1 priority for nutrient timing. It's a situation where some hockey athletes might feel like they've got heavy legs. They might think that they're tired, but it has less to do with having heavy legs for some unexplainable reason and more to do with you not feeding the supply and demand chain fast enough. It's not necessarily the condition. It's the fuel that you're giving the machine. And when you're talking about a machine and you're talking about performance, will a Ferrari take regular gas? No, it won't. A high-performance car requires high-performance fuel in order to perform at a high level. You, as a hockey player, your vehicle is your body, and you need to give it high-performance fuel if you're going to expect it to perform at a high level during tryouts and camps, which is when you got to be your sharpest. And since hockey is a glycolytic sport, we need to make sure we recover from the AM session at 100% before we reach the PM session. If you have an AM session and then you have slow digesting carbohydrates with lots of fat and fiber that slow the process down, well then you will replenish some glycogen before your PM workout, but you might replenish 60% of it, 70% of it. And how well are you going to perform with 70% of your glycogen restored? Well, I can tell you the exact number. You're going to perform at 70% because you aren't what you can do. You only are what you can recover from. So if you and your opponent both had an AM session, you had fast adjusting carbohydrates, you've replenished your glycogen at 100%, and they've only replenished it at 70%, who do you think is going to be faster on the ice in the PM session? Who do you think is going to get the puck first? Who do you think is going to shoot harder? Who do you think is going to be harder to knock off the puck when they've got all the fuel they need in order to dominate? This stuff matters. It's not just about your skills. It's not just about the workouts you've done this summer. It's about how you fuel yourself for the biggest moment of why all that work was done in the off season. Nutrient timing is critical. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna have a fast digesting carbohydrates and essential amino acids during our on ice sessions and or dryland sessions. But you also, very critically, it's important to know, you want to have a fast digesting carbohydrate immediately after your AM and PM sessions as well. And this means you have carbohydrate powder again post-workout, or you have something that's very quick and very simple to digest. My favorite is white rice. It is incredibly easy to digest. The literature on it is fantastic for glycogen replenishment. It contains water. You know, you cook rice with lots of water, so that helps act as a hydrating agent. All by itself, it is excellent for hockey players. That feeds the supply and demand chain at the metabolization rate that we want to optimize nutrient timing specific for hockey. That's number one, key factor. Number two goes hand in hand with number one, and it's hydration, but it's such a big topic that I wanted to talk about it separately, independent of food. Food, we want to optimize that glycogen replenishment and that glucose availability in our bloodstream during our workouts. Whereas hydration, this is something that's so key, and I would go as far to say that it's the number one most underrated factor in hockey performance today. Because let me ask you something here, and I'll even leave a little dead air in the video. How much water do you drink on a daily basis in an exact number? You probably don't know, right? And that's a problem. If you are striving to reach your next level performance this year, and hydration is an independent factor for strength, speed, conditioning, preventing cramps out in the ice, making sure the glucose and glycogen actually make it to the muscle cell, you name it, water is literally involved in every single biochemical reaction within the body. There's a reason why our bodies are made up of 70% water and muscle tissue is made up of 75% water. Let me ask you, how well do you think a tissue is going to perform if it's made of 75% water, but you're dehydrated? It's never going to perform well, ever. Not to mention, for every gram of glycogen you store in a muscle cell, you also have to store 3 to 4 grams of water with it. It's part of the biochemical process. So not only, if you're dehydrated, not only will your muscle not perform to its capability, but you're not going to be able to recover to your capability either, because carbohydrates aren't going to be able to go where they're supposed to go. So the big question is, how much water should I have then? Well, the answer is half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. Or to be more exact, half of your body weight in pounds in ounces of water per day. So if I was a 200-pound athlete, I would have 100 ounces of water per day. That is the base minimum. That doesn't include what you're going to consume out in the ice. So find out your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2. That's how many ounces of water you should be having per day in order to have the correct amount of water intake to treat your vehicle like it's a high performance car so you can go perform to your potential. And this hydration, it's a rate limiting factor to performance. And what does rate limiting mean? It means if you screw this up, it doesn't matter what else you did because it's an independent factor that will reduce your performance. Meaning, you could have had a very successful off-season program. You could have excellent genetics. You could be very talented for hockey. You could you could have the best supplements. You could have meditation. You do everything right. But if you show up dehydrated, you're not going to perform to your potential. It's an independent factor of performance. So make sure we do that calculation. We're drinking the amount of water we need each day, and then we're also consuming electrolytes while we're on the ice. You see, hydration isn't water. Hydration is water plus electrolytes. Water is the hydrating agent, but electrolytes are what actually allow you to get that water to the muscle cell. Not to mention, electrolytes play critical factors in hockey performance. For example, potassium is required for muscular relaxation. And what is a muscle without relaxation? It's a cramp. It's a nonstop contraction. So when you're out in the ice, you got a cramp in your core, you got a cramp in your hamstring, you got a cramp somewhere. Almost always, that's a nutrient problem and has nothing to do with your actual muscle. Yet people try to stretch it out, they try and do this thing, but it's biochemically, the potassium isn't there in enough quantity in order to allow the muscle to relax and release itself from contraction. Potassium improves performance by letting you move without cramps and stitches. What about sodium? Sodium's absolutely required for optimal contraction, but when you are contracting your muscles at a very high rate, just like you would be out in the ice, a lot of people don't know. You actually lose 3 times as much sodium as you do potassium while you're sweating. That's a reason why if you ever have an old shirt and you've sweat in it a lot, it'll actually have white rings around the armpits, and that's just salt. You lose a lot of salt while you're out in the ice when you're sweating. And let's say you did an AM workout and then a PM workout, or an AM ice session and a PM ice session. How much salt and potassium do you think you lost in that AM session before you get to the PM session? Now imagine you didn't do your glycogen replenishment correctly and you're entering the next bout with less electrolytes. There's no way you're going to perform to your potential. It's not going to happen. Even if you've the strongest mind in the world, biochemically, you're not going to be able to perform to your potential. So this stuff is absolutely key. So make sure you get in half your body weight in ounces of water per day if you want to dominate. But then when you're out in the ice, make sure you've got some sodium and potassium in your drink with you, because electrolytes are critical for performance. That's number 2, that's hydration. What's key number 3? Sleep. Sleep is another one that I think you and I can both agree is incredibly rate limiting in terms of performance. You could have the perfect diet, all the talent, the perfect training, you could have done everything right. But if you slept 3 hours last night, you're not gonna perform well today. It simply doesn't matter. Sleep is critical. When you are asleep at night, most all the systems of the body are anabolic. Your muscle tissue is repairing and rebuilding, your neural tissue, even your bones, your endocrine system, your immune system, everything structurally and chemically is resetting and regenerating itself. And that's required if you want to have the ultimate mind and body performance, because you need chemical and structural capacities married in the right way in order for you to feel refreshed in the morning and ready to rock and roll out in the ice. How much sleep should you have? Well, according to the National Sleep Foundation, who assess the totality of data within this area, if you're a youth athlete, you should be aiming for 9 to 11 hours of sleep per night. Whereas if you're a teenage athlete and above, so teens and adults, you should be seeking 8 to 9 hours per night. So once again, the recommendations of the National Sleep Foundation: youth 13 and under should be having or shooting for 9 to 11 hours per night, whereas teenagers and adults would be shooting for 8 to 9 hours per night. Absolutely critical for you to prioritize this. You can't go out the night before. I wouldn't recommend celebrating with everybody after the first day. You know, there's a tendency to want to go out with the entire team after the first day of camps, after the first day of tryouts. Maybe we'll all meet for dinner, stay out late. That's not really recommended at the expense of your sleep. This is critical because it's rate limiting. So we've got the 3 keys in the bag. All makes sense so far, right? We're treating our body like it's a high performance vehicle. And because of that, input equals output. When you prepare like a champion, you are a champion. Let's move into number 4, routine. Okay? Routine means you can't screw around with new stuff. That's as simple as it can be put. And I've even had professional athletes contact me who should know better, but they don't, because they get really excited about something, so they want to do something new. Don't introduce something new on the most important day of the year, because you don't know how that's going to react in your body. You got a brand new energy drink. Cool. Don't have it before you go out in the ice, because you've never had it before and you don't know how your body's going to respond to it. You got a brand new recipe that you want to try for morning hockey breakfast, whatever. Don't do that, because we don't know how your body's going to respond yet. One thing that I really like to say to my athletes is, don't eat the foods you like. Eat the foods that like you. Okay? There's a mind shift switch that happens there where you are eating foods that you know digest well, that you know don't give you bloating and gas, that you know just sit right with you so that you can feel light and fluid out in the ice and that you're not dragging. We've all had a game or a practice or a workout where we feel like sometimes you can actually even hear it if you shake and you've got fluid. You don't want that, okay? That will take away from your performance 10 times out of 10. So the routine key means stay in your routine. Don't eat foods that you like. Eat foods that like you. You know, you see this all the time happen at away tournaments or whatever. You're going to have an AM session, but since everybody's there and everyone's friends, they all want to go out for lunch. And then they go out for lunch. Maybe they've never eaten at that restaurant before. Maybe they've never had that food before. And even if they haven't had that food immediately before a second game of the day before. And then they go out and they wonder why they don't have fresh legs. They wonder why they're sucking wind in between shifts. They wonder why they're not out there dominating the way they know that they're capable of. And it's because you're introducing something new into a situation that demanded consistency. Just be consistent, and I promise you, your performance will also be consistent with it as well. So keep that routine the routine. And last but not least is the mindset. You ask any elite athlete and any elite coach for that matter, and they will tell you how much of the game of hockey is mental. You can't disrespect the mental aspect of performance. Why? Because you and I all know somebody who had all the physical capabilities in the world to be fantastic at a given sport task, but they just didn't have it up here to be able to fully express their skill out in the ice. Hockey performance is a combination of mental and physical capability. One is not more important than the other because it is the mind that tells the body what to do and not the other way around. Your mind, you have to be in check. You have to have that offensive awareness, that defensive awareness, that hockey sense, that hockey IQ that we all know is out there, but we haven't really known how to grasp it yet. But I've got 2 tricks that I want you to do in order to take your mental game to the next level. And the first one is meditation. Meditation is incredibly beneficial for hockey players. It's getting more and more popular as the years go on, and this is really due to 2 reasons. One, because there's a lot of scientific literature supporting meditation at this point in time in respect to things as mental health, accelerating the rate of recovery, improving sleep quality, all things that you know are very important for hockey performance. But the second reason why meditation is picking up so much popularity now is because it works. When something works, athletes and coaches talk about it. And then that thing spreads like a wildfire. And meditation is in that conversation for a reason, and I'm recommending it in this video to you for a reason, because it's going to accelerate your recovery from exercise and from hockey. But one of the biggest benefits I think comes from meditation is your ability to calm and quiet the mind. That is something that I want you to view as a muscle that can be trained and can get stronger. Your ability to calm the mind. What's that going to do for you out in the ice? You're going to be a lot more patient with the puck. You're going to be able to scan the ice a lot better. One thing that you'll see someone who has all the physical tools in the world, but then they get the puck and they panic, right? They're going to shoot a suicide pass to somebody, or they're just going to do, they're not going to be themselves. Was that physical or was that mental? That's mental. That's mental every single time. And I want you to flex this muscle. I want you to flex that muscle up here so that when you get the puck, you're able to scan the ice. You're able to see where your opponents, where your own team is. You're able to gauge the depth perception of everything going on so you can get that perfect pass. All of this stuff is mental. And I think your ability to calm and quiet the mind is actually the layer underneath what a lot of people refer to as offensive and defensive awareness, hockey IQ, having a hockey sense, being a playmaker. Why is that? Because you've got your head up. You're calm. You're not panicking. Not panicking is such a large percentage of the equation in terms of being an excellent hockey player. I wouldn't even know how to describe it to you. Learn how to calm the mind with meditation. What do I recommend? I'm a terrible meditator. Between you and me, my mind tends to wander. I can get all over the place. So what I like is guided meditation. And I use an app called Waking Up from Sam Harris that is an excellent app for guided meditation specifically. And I think that that's an excellent tool to learn how to meditate, because it's only 5 to 10 minutes per day, and it's been done wonders for me. But the second aspect of the mindset that I want to talk to you about is actually your ritual. So when you look at sports science literature, you want to be able to achieve a certain psychological state that's going to allow you to achieve optimal performance. And it's based on psychological arousal. So how calm or jazzed up are you to go out on the ice? We've got our X and our Y axis. And what we're measuring here is psychological arousal. If you are too calm before you hit the ice, performance isn't going to be optimal because you're a little bit too calm. You're a little too patient. The puck gets taken from you every single time. You almost appear apathetic. It's not enough. So we don't want to be here. But at the same time, we actually don't want to be too psychologically aroused either, because when someone passes, I call it a psychological threshold. When you pass a threshold of mental and emotional states that you can't control, this is your controlling threshold, then all of this spillover over the top, this is anxiety. This is nervousness. This is not being patient with the puck. You want to have the correct amount of mental arousal and stimulation and emotional arousal and stimulation that you can control within your threshold. And what's that referred to in sports science? Right in the middle. It's known as your flow state. You're not too relaxed. You're not too aroused. You are in a state of flow. This is what you would refer to as being in the zone. You're making plays. Everything's coming naturally to you. We've all had those workouts. We've all had those practices. We've all had those games where we were just mentally in the zone, and then our body followed suit with it. The mind tells the body what to do, but we got to put it in the right state. Not too relaxed, not too aroused, in a state of flow so that you can flow out in the ice. How do we get there? With a pre-ice ritual. I think it's really key to do two things. Number one, a body weight only warm-up. Number two, have an audio mindset clip that you listen to. One thing that Kevin and I have in the members area for the Hockey Skills Accelerator group at hockeytraining.com is audio mindset clips, a pre-ice thing that you can listen to get into the zone. A post-ice thing, a discipline, preparation, all types of different hockey-specific tracks that you can use to get into a state of flow. Because meditation is great, and I highly recommend it, but you also want to take things the step further and make things hockey-specific, right? Our life, we got to live that hockey life. Everything in our circle has got to be hockey. And the way in which I recommend to achieve your state of flow is to have a body weight warm-up that you do every single time, and then have an audio mindset track that you listen to every single time. So that I've got my AirPods in, I'm doing my warm-up, it's body weight only, so I can do my ritual in Ontario, I can do it in Vegas, I can do it in Australia, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm able to do this ritual anywhere because it's not dependent upon the environment. I don't need to be at a home game in order to perform my best. I can be anywhere in the world because what I do before the ice is my bridge between my regular life and my hockey life. What is the bridge? My audio mindset track and my warm-up. When I'm just thinking about it right now, it's getting me excited because you do your warm-up, you get in the zone mentally and physically. Nothing's distracted because you've got your AirPods or your headphones in, and you're doing something where you're transitioning your body and preparing it for battle. It's the body as a funny way of responding to routine and responding to rituals. You see a lot of athletes, they have rituals before they do anything in terms of high performance. They do those patterns commonly. And you want to create your own with a warm-up and with an audio mindset track. I think that's phenomenal. And then in between your AM and PM sessions or the night before, make sure you get that meditation in as well. All right? So those are the 5 keys of how you're going to impress and absolutely dominate at tryouts and camps. I know this is a lot of information, but I want you to have all the tools that you need in order to absolutely dominate. nutrient timing, get those fast adjusting carbohydrates in you. Hydration is water plus electrolytes. Dial that in. Sleep, make sure, based on your demographic, if you're youth, you're getting that 9 to 11, or if you're an adult, you're getting that 8 to 9, and you're prioritizing it each and every single night. The routine should always be the routine. Don't try new equipment, a new meal, or a new supplement on the day of tryouts or camps because you don't know how you're going to respond to it. And lastly, meditation and pre-ice rituals are key for bridging the mind-body that you need in order to take your hockey performance to the next level. Now that you know how you're going to dominate at tryouts and camps, let's talk about how you're going to dominate during the in-season. Coming up real soon, I have the brand new in-season products coming out for youth, for adults, for teens. If you're high level, if you're a beginner, no matter what age you are, no matter what equipment you have access to, no matter what you're doing, I have the perfect in-season program for you that's going to allow you to stay explosive, stay conditioned, have great agility, all in season long. In season is its own programming that's very specific and individual by itself. And I want to make sure, just like we're checking all the boxes before tryouts and camps, that you're going to check all the boxes all in season long to absolutely dominate. Nothing's going to stop you. Dominate tryouts and camps, dominate the in-season with the brand new in-season program that you can find at hockeytraining.com/let's go. And hey, let's go.